What feels rude but actually isn't? When you're at a craft fair or farmer's market or some other outdoor event where people have a bunch of tables set up to sell their wares. Go up to a table to check out what they're selling and walk away. Either you don't like what they have or they're selling their nice soaps for way too much money. They are looking at you this whole time with this happy, expectant look on their face. Like this is it. I'm going to get a sale. Or worse, when you ask them what they're all about and they go into this long pitch about their thing, only for you to realize that you're not interested. I always feel like a complete asshole for going, yeah, well, okay, bye. I was at a farmer's market and there was an olive oil stand. So I thought cool, it'll get some nice organic stuff. I'm so cool and healthy. So I made the mistake of asking for suggestions. The guy proceeds to pour some shot glasses of olive oil for me to try. I hadn't had breakfast. I was hungover and had to take shots of some dank strong olive oils and be like that one's sure. Olive oily. I'll take it. Yeah, that one please, just thank you, goodbye. And then I ran off to gag with an oily greasy mouth. Good lord, who would give out shots of olive oil? If you want people to try it, give them a chunk of crusty bread to dip in it or something. Leaving a party / function early or even at a reasonable hour. A lot of people take offense if you leave before the end and it's a drag. Yep, we had an issue in the friend group a while back because a couple of people were bad about trying to make you stay longer. It just felt like a giant guilt trip. Once I and others made our feelings clear, they are much better about it. Not being available 24/7 despite being reachable 24/7. Oh, this is a big one for me, and it's only gotten worse since COVID. Home plus not working does not mean I want to spend all day chit-chatting on FB. As a long-time work from home employee, I've had to remind people of this countless times. Just because I work from home, it does not mean that I live at work. Passing people who are walking really slowly. Oops, sorry. Just going to squeeze by. Sorry about that. I love and appreciate the Midwestern energy of this comment. My thoughts exactly. Oh, just gonna sneak right past ya. Asking for money that is owed to you. It seems awkward and rude, but it really isn't. Or at least shouldn't be. OMG yes. Not only money. Anything that belongs to you. And you have to kindly borrow it back. My GF borrowed my jumper cables and never gave them back. Now we've broken up and she still has them. Duck and jerk. Not being able to do favors for someone when asked. When someone asks me to do a favor without specifying, I always reply, I'll try. What is it? The try is the key word, because I reserve the right to assess if the favor is doable. I won't even go that far. I'll just ask, what is it? It isn't reasonable to expect any level of agreement until you tell me what you're asking for. Ending a conversation with someone who is legit trying to commandeer your time. This is a really big issue in law offices, especially elder law. The old people are just so lonely they make connections with their attorneys regardless of how their attorneys feel about them and latch onto it. Honestly, it's really sad, and I feel really bad every time I have to hang up on an 80-year-old woman because I have to do shit. But it is what it is. As a family lawyer, I can relate. You are a client's shoulder to lean on during a divorce, but that lean is a one every 6 minutes. Most catch on after the first invoice. Calling out of work when I'm sick. Most act like I'm faking it, so makes me feel bad whenever I need to due to medical issues. I tried calling out once and was told to come in. I'd been vomiting all morning. Couldn't get it to stop. So I drove at work. Driving 20 minutes. I had to pull over twice to puke. I get to the office and I tell the boss, and he insists I get to work. In my office, I puke in the trash can 3 times in an hour. He calls me into his office to assign me some project. It's going good. I feel somewhat better. I go over to his desk to retrieve some papers and proceed to vomit all over his desk/suit. He screams at me, threatens to fire me, and I told him I ducking, told you I was sick and vomiting all morning. After he calmed down, He agreed that he handled it wrong. We both went home early, though he went back. I got 5 days off to recover. I felt better almost immediately after puking in his office, so I enjoyed the paid time off. Who are these piece of shit humans who think suck it up and come in any way as an appropriate response to someone telling you they're sick? A. If you don't trust your employee and think they're faking it, you suck at hiring and should get someone you do trust instead. B. If you legitimately don't care, you're a sociopath and have no business managing people. Asking for assistance. Excuse me, Bear. Bear Ducker. Do you need assistance? You boys like Mexico. Saying no to anything. I had a friend who said he envied my ability to say no without explanations. Some guy on the bus asked him if he had a cigarette. He apologized. Told him he smoked his last cigarette earlier. The guy then asks me, and I say no. My friend afterwards says, you don't smoke. Why didn't you tell him that? Because I don't feel like I need to give an excuse. Sometimes it's nice to do the opposite too and give someone your exact reasoning. I get sales calls at work a lot, and my co-workers sometimes get a chuckle at how direct I am. I always start with a friendly no thanks. But if they press me, I usually say something like I have no interest in your services and I'm not going to answer any of your questions, which ends the conversation every time. Not hanging out with people because you are tired. I've started being straight up. Duck it. I'm not feeling fun tonight. Can we hang out tomorrow instead? Honestly, that's a really great line. Correcting someone if they mispronounce my name. Totally agreeable. Abro. Buddy. It's pronounced abralha. Come on. Waking into a restaurant and then walking out without getting anything. You might think the cook will be offended, but they're probably just relieved that they don't have to do more work. Same with shops. I didn't nick anything, I just wanted to browse. During summers, I go into random stores just to get hit with that sweet ack and escape the heat for a minute or two. Accepting a gift with a simple thank you. E-station here. The act of pretending to turn gifts down and the giver insisting and going back and forth for 3 ducking hours and eventually accepting the gift anyway, just ducking, irritates me to no end. My mom is Chinese from Hong Kong, so many of our family/friends like to do the whole fight to the death over the restaurant bill gambit. She got so sick and tired of the back and forth that she decided one day that going forward, she would just accept the offer with a smile and, okay, thank you, I'll pay next time. We've stopped fighting over it now, and it's so much less exhausting for everyone involved. Telling people what you want as far as your boundaries. I really don't like being touched. Please don't touch me. I prefer not to text a lot during work hours. I don't like making last minute plans. Next time please, let's set up plans ahead of time. I don't think we really click. I don't think this is working. But standing up for your boundaries encourages people to stand up for theirs too. Same, I hate being touched by people I don't really know or don't like. One time at work, a creepy older guy hugged one of the girls I worked with, and I could tell she was uncomfortable, then tried to hug me, stepped back and said, no, I don't like to be touched. He actually told me, how do you expect to get a husband if you don't like being touched? Like WTF. Told his ass, actually I'm married with a child, and if I don't know you don't touch me, simple as that. Actually, I'm not in the mood of talking right now. Asking someone to please move. I remember going to a street fair with my dad as a child, and there was this family, mother, father, and 4 to 5 kids, with their hands all joined together in a line. They spanned all the way across the road, were walking infuriatingly slow, and we are just generally in everyone's way. As we approached, my father gently took a wrist of each of the parents in his hands. He made long, uncomfortable eye contact with the dad while he separated their hands and gestured my sister and I through the gap. He then walked through and gently but deliberately closed their hands back together like a door. The awkwardness was obviously intentional, but I can't help but think of that and shuddering with awkwardness whenever I feel the need to ask someone to move. Calling people out for social misconduct, as in saying they are coming in 5 minutes, only to not hear from them again. Mildly specific, I know. Calling out someone who cuts in line, and even though what they did was rude, it feels weird and wrong to be confrontational. I love that Malcolm in the Middle episode where an old lady cuts in front of a huge line at the dressing room. Everyone is like, oh, clueless old lady, whatever I guess, but the boys are like, we don't buy your old lady act and violence ensues. Accepting an offer that doesn't benefit the other person too. Would you mind giving some examples of this? The reason I'm asking is there are a lot of cases such as car buying where you may think you've gotten an amazing deal and screwed over the salesperson, but in reality the dealership is able to make up any perceived losses on the back end. More like random gifts from friends, or when you're 50 short and the cashier waives it. Saying you need space/time to yourself. I don't know why, but it always feels like I'm being rude when I tell people this. Even though it's just part of life and needing some alone time/time to think and reflect. I find a lot of people take it personally when it legitimately has nothing to do with them. Telling the truth about something that might hurt but is going to save your butt in the long run. Saying no thanks when offered more food, especially at a family function. There's always those relatives that offer so much. I really don't need to eat that much food. I grew up in a household of stop eating when you're not hungry anymore, which has served me well. I married into a culture of it's rude to decline seconds, and seconds are always offered. I take a very small first course. Not fully the same thing, but I've always taken small portions of food. If I want more, I'll get more if it's available, but sometimes I just get full quickly. Other times I can eat a ton. I'd rather take a small amount and get more than take a lot of food and end up wasting it cause I'm full, which I've always felt was rude to just waste food. Asking someone to correct your food order. So true. But after working in a restaurant it doesn't make me feel so bad. If it comes out cold, well, it's not the waiter's fault but it stresses them out. But a customer should never eat something they're not satisfied with. Giving PPL the thumbs down motion. Especially when driving. My dad and I do that instead of flipping PPL off. Gets PPL madder than shit, but it's still hilarious. This legit made me giggle. Feeling judged is worse than feeling insulted. Rejecting kiosk workers feels rude, but I digress. I went to a mall, and I have really big, thick hair. One girl asked me if I ever straighten it, and I said no, and she was like, well, this straightener is easy. Less damaging. Let me try it on you. And I said no thanks, and then she's like, come on, I insist. And I was like, no ducking, thank you. Then like an hour later I walked by the same kiosk again, and a different guy was working and asked to try the straightener on my hair, and I said no. And he asked why not, and I said, because I don't like straightening my hair. He's like, well, this is not time consuming. And I got really mad and kinda yelled, I'm not buying a hair straightener from you. I used to feel that way and end up getting talked into buying something. But now I completely ignore them. I used to feel like a total jerk. But if you engage them it's almost impossible to break free. It got to the point they would try to talk to me and I literally would look down and cover my face and refuse to make eye contact, lol. Telling a doctor that you want a second opinion. A second opinion saved my dad's life. His first doctor tried saying his blood results were an anomaly when he couldn't find the cancer that the blood work indicated. My dad decided to get a second opinion and they were able to find it, treat it, and put it in remission. If he hadn't gone for a second opinion, who knows if he'd still be alive 10 years later. I'm not interested in your product or service. Please remove me from your distribution list. Oh, I don't feel rude on that. I enjoy it. Asking, how do we know each other? I remember you. It's just been a while. Help me out. Don't be offended, please. It's not rude but it kinda hurts. Not continuing the pay it forwarded drive-thrus. It's happened several times to me, and I've always reciprocated. I've hit a financially rough time and am working 6 days a week starting at 5:30. If I miss a coffee the rest of my morning will feel like hell. Even though I'm pushing my budget to get one, the cashier told me my coffee was paid for already, so I left a small tip and went about my way. I'll pay it later when circumstances are better. For a long time it didn't occur to me that you were supposed to do that, and to me, it feels like it kinda defeats the point. Like now we're all still paying for our stuff, but the price is gonna be a mystery? No, I just graciously accept my free thing and then pay it forward to someone else. Somewhere else. I guess what I'm trying to say is don't feel bad. Edited for punctuation. I literally had to see it within a meme to understand that it was supposed to be a chain. I had someone pay for my coffee at a drive-thru once and didn't even consider keeping it going. I was just like a free coffee thanks lady in the expedition and went about my day. Texting with a proper punctuation. I always feel rude when doing that, so I add smiley emoticons. Colon close bracket. K. Colon close bracket. Discussing salary. It's a good way to make sure you and your coworkers are all being treated fairly. The only people who have ever told me that discussing salary is rude were managers and bosses. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.